Okay, one of the first stories I told you was how we bought the orchard. And now let's see if I can explain a little bit about what it was like when we bought it. A mess. It had been 15 years, I guess, since anybody paid a lot of attention to the orchard. And so we started out. I'm allergic to poison ivy, and I proved it about every day the first month we were here. Poison ivy was everywhere. The wild rose bushes that are what we call exotic plants. Exotic plants here is a Parkway term. It means plants that were not native to this country and have gotten here at various points in our history. And right now, some of them still exist. Great big bunches of what we would call, I guess, swamp grass or something, but they take over a field, and we are about to be taken over as a field in the front of our orchard now. If you drive in here and look, the slope has that kind of grass on it. The slope to the right-hand side as you come down the road. But heck, that was about the least of the problems. We began to have to clear old trees, not apple trees, but old trees that had grown up. And in one spot all the way across the top of the orchard, there were so many trees there that we were cutting down trees that had grown 10 feet, 12 feet, 15 feet. And in that part of the mountain, we also started finding peach trees. And a little bit of research showed that at one time we had a peach and apple orchard with the peaches growing above the road. Well, I was excited about that, and the first year we were here, I picked a few peaches and tried to sell them, and they sort of didn't have a good shelf life, and so I was selling fruit that was suspect with soft spots and everything. But the taste was pretty good, so I rationalized that we'll still be a peach and orchard apple, an apple orchard. But the peach trees, as soon as they got into the sun, died. 1 year later, we were down to just 3 or 4, and now only 2 peach trees from a whole peach orchard have survived. And it's just as well. The peaches are an earlier crop than apples, but a little harder to handle than the apples in several ways. And so being an apple orchard guy for a while has been enough for me. And the peaches we have not replanted. Well, we had a lot of energy in the field crew to try to clear and cut and bring apple trees back into cultivation. And so we had several characters on the field crew. And of course I won't mention any names, but we had 2 or 3 of the field crew actually living here on site. Some family in our house and some in the trailers, the mobile homes, I guess we'd call them, that were located in 2 sites on the orchard. And the mobile home on one site was so weak and frail that it gave up. People could not stay in it. They did stay in the other one, and a couple of people shared that together, a couple of guys, and they got along pretty well together. One of them had lost his driver's license, and so he was pretty much stranded at the orchard unless or until his roommate, a Mexican fella, chose to drive him someplace wherever he wanted to go. And the main place he wanted to go was where he could find beer. And one Christmas, at the first year we were here, I had purchased, because I thought it would make a nice piece to people look at here at the orchard, I'd purchased a 1939 Ford pickup truck. And I had it here on the orchard, and it was out of gas. It was just sitting there. But the two fellows in my mobile home down there, it was Christmas and it was snowing and they were dry and they needed some beer. So they went to the truck, this antique truck that didn't work, out of gas, and they chose to pour fuel oil into the gas tank. And it coughed and sputtered a little while, but it started. And so they went down the parkway to the first exit where they could get off and go buy either beer or a moonshine. And they didn't notice, but the park ranger had observed them coming off the parkway in that truck and was watching where they went. And they went in and came out with a case of beer and no telling what else. And they came back to get on the parkway. And then the blue light started, and the truck couldn't outrun anything. So they pulled over and stopped, and the Mexican fellow who was not driving lit out and hid in the woods, leaving tracks in the snow. It was not very good camouflage. And the other guy was arrested for driving without a license. And I was gone that whole month. Went to a Super Bowl party somewhere. And when I came back home, I had 14 telephone calls on my answering machine. 13 of them were, this call is from prisoner, say your name. His name, he would come on and say his name. And then the announcer would come back on and say, he thinks you can go bail for him. Give him a call if you can. 14 calls consisted of that sort of a message. And one consisted of a message from the lady policeman who had arrested him on the parkway driving a stolen truck. Well, I bailed him out. We got him back. He promised he would never do anything like that again. And he was largely correct, but he was married, it turned out, and she did not like that he was a drinking man, and so she refused to move in the trailer with him, and she lived in the house that he was paying for back in a neighboring town. And she would frequently, although she called him a drunk and didn't like it, she would frequently, in his truck, bring him some beer and then complain about him drinking it. And one day when I was up here, the new manager of the orchard was my nephew, Brad was his name. And he said there was a ruckus going on down at the trailer, and I'd just come off one of the hay rides, and I wasn't too interested in it until he said, your employee is threatening to kill his wife, and he has a gun. What should I do? I said, go down there and get him and bring him up to the office, and we will have a little conference and try to figure out how to solve this problem. He was a little reluctant to go down and face the gun, but he did, and he came back, and we had what I called popcorn therapy. had served popcorn all around, got everybody calmed down, got the truck back to him, or her, so she could drive it away, and she left with one parting note. She told her husband that she had been dating his brother. Just some of the problems that we face with personnel.
Summertime and the living is easy. The fish are a-jumping and the cotton is high. Your daddy's rich and your mama's good looking. So hush, little baby, don't you cry. You're gonna spread your wings and take to the sky. But until that morning, there ain't nothing gonna harm you. With your mommy and daddy standing close by. And the living is easy. The fish are a-jumping and the cotton is high. Your daddy's rich and your mama's